Good morning, everyone. This is Michael, and we are working today with the destiny of the nations, something about the sixth and seventh rays and their contrasts, and maybe a little bit about the nature of citizenship, whether it's the citizenship of your own country or the citizenship of the world, of humanity, we might say. I have some readings here from the destiny of the nations, and that's what we'll focus on first. And we're, let's see, in this particular format it's a little difficult to tell where we are, but somewhere around page 28 or 27 in the book. And he says, as you know, there are at this time two minor rays, which are rays of attribute, affecting powerfully the destiny of mankind. Yeah, so now we just reached page 29. Oh. Okay. We may have reached 29, but that was a sudden lurch. All right. There are the sixth ray of abstract devotion or idealism, and the word abstract is important, just the way the first ray is a ray of abstraction, and we have abstract mind coming in on the, did I say third ray? Third ray, it comes in on the third ray, abstract intelligence, and of course the first ray abstracts the life from the form and also inserts it. So the sixth ray of abstract devotion or idealism, and the seventh ray of ceremonial magic or organization. You can go to Esoteric Psychology, Volume 1, page 26, and you will see these tables of the regarding the entry of the ray influence and its fading out. The sixth ray began to pass out of manifestation in 1625 after a long period of influence, maybe we might say even 1,500 years of influence, from the early centuries AD, whilst the seventh ray of ceremonial order began to come into manifestation in 1675. I often point out from the musical perspective that both Johann Sebastian Bach and George Friedrich Handel were born in 1685. And there is much in their music that suggests the power of the seventh ray. There are 3 points to be remembered in connection with these two rays and their effect upon the race of men. He says, I'm not here dealing with their effects upon the other kingdoms of nature, though obviously there is a strong effect. I recall one such instance when he said, look, the one of the colors of the sixth ray is the blue, maybe the lighter blue, not the indigo, and blue flowers are fading out, and the purple or violet colored flowers are coming in with the seventh ray. So that's as it affects the plant kingdom. And I'm sure this is the case with the other kingdoms as well. I notice how much interest there is lately in the amethyst and its usual color, which is violet. Okay, now let's go on here. The sixth ray is, as you know, the most powerful in manifestation in this time, and a very large number of people are responsive to its influence. Matter of fact, Master DK said that the majority of personalities in the human race at this time are found on the sixth ray or the third. And there are many people, I think, who are maybe newer to the path or came in a bit later. They have the sixth ray as the soul ray. So it's still very powerful. This was written maybe 70 years ago, but it is beginning to fade out and will be mostly faded out by the end of this century, the 21st century. It is still the line of least resistance for the majority, particularly in the Aryan race, the fifth root race, for the reason that when in process of time and through evolution the influence of a ray has become potent, it is groups that are primarily affected and not just individuals. We have a certain backward looking, a kind of conservatism. We might even call it a reactionary radicalism that many people on the sixth ray in humanity presently are expressing, and they seem to want to go back to a former time, or at least to hang on to certain types of thought and religions and worldviews which are obviously becoming outmoded as the Aquarian age advances. So we have a big recrudescence, a springing to life again of the sixth ray, but it causes at this time of transition quite a bit of resistance to the new Aquarianly related energies. So groups are primarily affected and not just individuals. This ray has been operative for a long time and on a still larger cycle has some 21,000 years to run, imagine. A rhythm and a momentum is then set up which lasts a long time and which gains power through the very force of organized numbers. I think we have to look particularly at countries that have either the sixth ray soul, like Spain and like Italy, or let us say the sixth ray personality, like the United States and Russia. So there will be, in all of those countries, of course, a moving into the Aquarian age, but there will be a struggle because these two rays, in certain ways, don't really get along so well for various reasons. We've been told that when the seventh ray comes in, monads of all kinds will find their method of relationship to it, but the only real difficulty will be the relationship of the sixth ray monad to the seventh. Okay. So anyway, the force of organized numbers will have it gain in power, and indeed, at this time, supported by various somewhat Martian religions, namely the Hebrew religion, Judaism, with its Jehovah, Christianity and Islam, they all have a very strong Mars at this time, and we know Mars to be a non-sacred planet that is very necessary for energy and for courage, but can be very concrete and regressive at this time of potential etherealization. Mars may rule the dense physical body of man and the astral body of man and the lower mental body of man and the entire personality, but it doesn't fit so well with the etheric body, and it is the etheric body that is to become emphasized in this Aquarian and Uranian age, which is now emerging. So anyway, the truth of all this will emerge more clearly as we proceed with our studies, he says. Suffice it to say that sixth ray people, I guess, well, does he mean only soul types? I mean, as I've sometimes said, when you have two rays, a soul and personality ray for a nation, what it really means is that souls on both of those rays are found quite numerously in that nation, not just personalities. The second and sixth ray, second ray soul, sixth ray personality of the United States means that souls on the second ray and souls on the sixth ray are found quite prominently in the United States. So anyway, suffice it to say that sixth ray people are the reactionaries, the conservatives. It's a good word, conservative, because certain values have to be conserved as we make a transition into another age, and we don't want to, in the old saying, throw the baby out with the bathwater, so as DK says, there's something connected with the fourth ray which makes bridging from the past a useful possibility without cutting from the hard-won values of the past. Anyway, but there are other reactions of this sixth ray, and we've been seeing them, and we have to watch very, very carefully if we're to hang on to humanity and if Earth is to succeed. Because, the sixth ray in general does not respect the dense physical plane and prefers the subtler planes because of abstraction, and prefers whatever is meant by heaven most of all. And an atomic war or two is no problem, just as long as we get to heaven. Those of us, of course, who are destined for heaven, a religious minority, all the rest going to the opposite place. So the conservatives, the diehards, and the fanatics who hold on to all that is of the past and whose influence is potent to hinder the progress of humanity into the new age. So I think we really have to take that to heart. All rays are divine, even equally divine, but they can have different kinds of effects, good or bad, at different times, depending on the nature of the forms upon which they play. So anyway, people who are on this ray, there are many at this time. And of course, they'll have to leave too for other type of training, and one wonders how that departure will be arranged, and whether there will be catastrophes that help the departure. Anyway, their name is Legion. They provide, however, a needed balance and are responsible for a steadying process, which is much needed in the world at this time. So you know how it is, checks and balances. We're seeing that in the United States strongly. It's intended as a system which deprives any one branch of government from having excessive power. And then there will be a condition in which that power is checked or somewhat delayed or stopped by other branches of government until a balance which is useful, helpful for the whole is established. Now, when the balance is attacked, you have real problems in maintaining the structure of the state. Okay, so that's a little bit about the sixth ray, and DK is looking at it as still very necessary at least 70 years ago. And it is still prominent in certain countries, and the people upon that race sensing their impending transition or translation to other realms of activity are getting a little desperate and feeling that nobody sees really the value of their particular approach, which is the only approach which is of value. And that's a problem. We talked about the sixth ray in the glamour workshop, the glamour destruction, the power to see no point of view but one's own. So anyway, the seventh ray, however, is coming in, steadily gaining momentum, and has for a long time been stimulating and enhancing the activity of all fifth ray nations. Interesting how Francis Bacon, before he was or became Le Comte de Saint-Germain or the Master R, he was a great seventh ray soul, and he ushered in a period of scientific research. In other words, he promoted the fifth ray strongly rather than the third per se, or even the second. So the fifth ray and the seventh ray reinforce each other through Aquarius and through the power of Uranus, that particular planet having both seventh ray and fifth ray in its ray makeup. If you will bear in mind that one of the major objectives of seventh ray energy is to bring together, the highest and the lowest meet, and to relate spirit and matter, and also substance and form. Note this distinction, because substance underlies form. You can see for yourself that the work of science is closely connected with this endeavor, and that the creation of new forms will definitely be the result of a working interaction between the rulers of the fifth, the second, and seventh rays, aided by the help on demand of the ruler of the first ray. The ruler of the first ray, destroys certain forms so that the way can be cleared for new ones, and he tests the form Interestingly enough, the second ray is the form maker, and geometrizes, and is not so much related to matter per se. The fifth ray concretizes, and in order to have form emerging from substance, there has to be concretization. And the seventh ray, it establishes it all upon the etheric physical plane. So, he tells us that in the scientific group of the seed groups, reincarnation will be studied. Well, the cyclic appearance and disappearance of the seventh ray is related to the whole subject of the breath and of reincarnation. So we see the 5 and the 7 working together, but the general ray of form building, the second, is also present, and the first ray to clear the path. A large number of seventh ray egos or souls, and also men and women with seventh ray personalities, are coming into incarnation now, and to them is committed the task of organizing the activities of the new era and of ending the old methods of life and the old crystallized attitudes to life, to death, to leisure, and to population. Well, that's an opening statement about the general trends of the new ray associated with Aquarius and the old but very powerful ray of Pisces going through Pisces, that is, the sixth ray, along with the second, and a very necessary ray it is, as long as its tendency to obstruction is not carried too far. I think that's all we'll do right now, and I have a keyboard that has a mind of its own here, so just please bear with me. This is the 28th of September. Uh, 2019. Okay, so I think that will be enough on that. At least we have a start, and we see that even now these two rays have to keep each other in balance. So this is where we'll begin the next time, maybe with a little review. It's very important to read these books and be informed along with the meditation that we do. So this is beginning, and it will be, consult this handy dandy calendar, the 5th of October 2019. Okay. Well, think of it, to what do you most respond? Are you a progressive? Are your methods of expression and activity in line with the promised abundant life of the Aquarian era? Have you given up your tendency towards extreme devotion and emotionality so prominent during the last approximately 2,000 years? Or, are there still the reactionary, backward-looking tendencies? I would say, that among the students that come to the Tibetan and stick with the Tibetan, the Aquarian perspective is pretty strongly pronounced, if not entirely established. Really, the wave of spiritual occultism presenting the ageless wisdom as a means of solving human problems is so necessary. So very necessary if we are to avoid certain cul-de-sacs which are kind of implicit in the situation we have at the present time and the methods we are using to solve them. I said earlier that the sun, while at home in Leo, is in detriment in Aquarius, and there will be a gradual reduction in selfishness and the ability to think in terms of the group. Let's absorb together the white light. So we absorb and take into the entire personality the light of the soul. I suppose in various colors. The white light is synthetic, but maybe the basic color of the egoic lotus is that orange, yellow, golden, radiant color. And we realize that all of this work that we're trying to do on behalf of international unity and right relations between nations is on behalf of the Christ and his plans, which are, of course, the plans of our planetary logos expressing through Sanat Kumara, the Lord of the world. So we affirm our relationship to the Great Lord. And we say, we have gathered in your name, Lord Maitreya. Be with us. And for a few moments we ponder our relationship to the head of the hierarchy and the initiator that we will inevitably meet, if that is the more rapid path of initiation that we are taking. Now the question before us today is a true citizenship. And we might, consider it spiritual citizenship. What is it really? Let's address it first to our relation to our particular nation, if we were a true citizen of our nation, how would that manifest itself? What do you think of the idea of knowing your own strengths and liabilities, and knowing the strengths and liabilities of your nation, and somehow with your strengths reinforcing the strengths of the nation in which you live? Can you think about how you would go about doing that in your particular case? I think about the United States, as an example. Being a citizen of the United States with its motto, I light the way, and the Aquarian soul energy, and I say, what are the abilities that I might have to help this particular country, the United States, light the way and help to spread the new way of Aquarian living. And of course I can contemplate the resistances as well. So do that with your own nation. If it has a motto, use the motto, and if it has a soul ray, use the soul ray. And quite a few of the nations DK mentions, for them he gives neither a motto nor a soul ray, but he does give an astrological soul sign. So think of that, and how at least to promote that astrological expression of the soul, given your strengths. It's quite a specific thing how you will contribute to the soul growth of your nation. And remember that when the causal body of any nation is sufficiently developed, the influence of hierarchy is much greater, and perhaps an esoteric school intensifying the influence of hierarchy can appear. There is another type of citizenship, and it's wider. We might consider it like global citizenship. It has to do with the destiny of humanity, the monads of which will function on the plane of unity and harmony and intuition and pure reason, namely the Buddhic plane. Right now, the teaching seems to say that the soul ray of humanity is the fourth ray of harmony through conflict, maybe with the emphasis more and more upon harmony as the fourth ray comes in from its monadic nature. The personality ray, the intelligent and practical, investigative fifth ray, a ray of mind. So how is it that your particular qualities apply to global citizenship, which means, in a way, the upliftment of humanity? It won't always be the fourth and fifth ray. We're told the day will come when humanity will be ruled by the second ray in the soul nature and the fourth ray in the personality nature. This is not immediate. But harmony, peace, right human relations, cooperation, mutual reinforcement, mutual upliftment and elevation. What is your contribution, or what are your contributions to that as you think about your global citizenship? Now remember that esoterically inclined students do a lot of work with the mind and subjectively. You may not be a participant in many countries, or even in your own in an external manner, but you have the power of thought, and you have, individually and in your groups, the power to direct energy, needed energies. And right there in your own interior, crucible, with your creative imagination, you can participate all over the world in the troubled areas and be an influence for good. So we are not as limited as we might think, and the power of our soul-infused mind, also using the creative imagination, can be a very effective tool in raising the quality of our global citizenship. So maybe this week, think about your citizenship, both specifically in your own country, trying to bring about the development of the causal body of your country, but also something much greater, the causal body of humanity. Aiding, of course, the causal body of our planet and directing it towards becoming a sacred planet. Well, friends, I think that's quite a bit to think about. It's a wonderful little book, this Destiny of the Nations, and gets us thinking beyond our immediate sphere into our larger participation in terms of city, municipal even. They have their rays and signs. And in terms of our nation, and then globally. And we can make a difference. So when you regard yourself and you think of your relation to your groups, do think of the larger context, which finally takes us to our participation and citizenship in humanity, passing through our citizenship in our own country. And of course our continent has its particular gifts, and the 5 planetary centers, one of which is the directing center for us, has that which must reach humanity. And by that I mean New York, London, Geneva, Darjeeling, Tokyo. There's a lot here to do with redeeming our planet and redeeming humanity and its method of interplay. And we're in a very powerful position as students of esotericism. We may not realize it, but we are. And we can continue to work together to visualize and send the subtle energies where they will do good. So friends, this is a little abbreviated. That's all I'm going to deal with today. And tomorrow, the attracting of financial resources for hierarchical purposes. Next week, early in the week, there will be some work on identify as being, which is about wholeness and oneness. And then there can be Triangles broadcasts on Wednesday, but maybe not the whole group of them, of the broadcast schedule for Wednesday, because I'll have to be traveling. And I'll try to send you, if you're interested, let me know, the work in Cosmic Fire. I think we'll all discover it's one big book, one big teaching, and even though we just know a little bit about the ageless wisdom, it is a united whole. So many blessings to everyone. Lots of love from Tuija and myself, and from the team that helps bring you these webinars and broadcasts. Citizenship. Let's ponder it.